Welcome back. Today on our journey through the Bible, we will learn about more of Jesus' miracles.
Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong, they are weak, but he is strong. Yes, Jesus loves me, yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me, the Bible tells me so.
The Messiah. Our memory verse comes from Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. The miracles. The theme verse for this aspect of the Messiah's life comes from Matthew 9, verse 35. And Jesus went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues, and preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing every sickness and every disease among the people. Syrophoenician woman. Some of the scribes and Pharisees came to challenge Jesus about his disciples' eating habits. The disciples did not engage in all the ritual shows that the Pharisees did, and this offended them. Jesus used this opportunity to explain the importance of inner cleanliness, showing that what comes out of a man's heart, his words and deeds, are what make him corrupt. Following this encounter, Jesus and his disciples journeyed to Tyre and Sidon, where they met an importunate Greek woman of Syrophoenician origin. Even in Gentile territories, Jesus' power was known. The Syrophoenician woman came looking for Jesus as soon as the news of his arrival in Tyre and Sidon reached her. This woman's daughter was possessed by an evil spirit, and she knew Jesus could help them. However, when she asked Jesus to free her daughter of the evil spirit, Jesus ignored her. In spite of his disregard, the woman persisted. The disciples began to feel self-conscious with this woman making a spectacle of them. So they asked Jesus to send her away. Then Jesus spoke to the woman and told her that he was sent only to minister to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. At this acknowledgement, the woman bowed at Jesus' feet and begged for his help. Then Jesus said to her, "It is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to dogs." To this the woman agreed with Jesus and responded, "Truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat the crumbs which fall from their master's table." Hearing the woman's response, Jesus answered, "O woman, great is thy faith. Be it unto thee even as thou wilt." At that same time, the woman's daughter was freed from the evil spirit. Men as trees. Following his time in Tyre and Sidon, Jesus journeyed across the Sea of Galilee to the coast of the Decapolis. There a deaf and dumb man was brought to him, and he healed him. Later he went into a wilderness, and the people followed him there, and he preached to them and healed their sick. The people were with him for 3 days. Because they were with him for so long, he saw their need for food before sending them to their homes. He asked the disciples what food there was, and all they had was 7 loaves and a few fishes. Jesus blessed the food just as he did with the 5,000 men with women and children. He fed 4,000 men with women and children, this time collecting 7 baskets full of leftovers. Then Jesus and his disciples went to Bethsaida, and a blind man seeking healing was brought to him. Jesus led the blind man out of town. When they were in the outskirts of the town, Jesus spit on the man's eyes, then laid his hands on him. He then asked the man if he saw anything. The man replied, "I see men as trees walking." Jesus put his hands on the man's eyes again, then made him look up. The man's sight was now restored fully, and he could see everyone clearly. Jesus performed many miracles, feeding the hungry, healing lepers, giving sight to the blind, hearing to the deaf, and strength to the crippled, arms, legs, bodies, and mind. Lazarus. Jesus had some dear friends among his disciples who lived in a town in Judea called Bethany, at whose home he would stay from time to time. They were three siblings, Lazarus and his two sisters, Martha and Mary. Mary was particularly attached to Jesus because he freed her from possession by 7 different devils. Her devotion was manifested when she anointed his head with very expensive perfume, to the consternation of Judas and some of the other disciples. While Jesus was out ministering, Martha and Mary sent messengers to tell Jesus that his friend, their brother, was very sick. Jesus told his disciples that this sickness would not end in death, but God's glory would be revealed. Jesus stayed where he was for another 2 days. Then he told his disciples that they were now going to Judea. The disciples were worried because the last time they were in Judea, the Pharisees tried to kill Jesus. Jesus told them that Lazarus was asleep, so he needed to go to wake him. The disciples said that if he is asleep, then he'll be fine. But Jesus clarified and told them that Lazarus was dead. When Jesus and the 12 disciples arrived, they saw that Lazarus had been dead and in his grave for the past 4 days. Many of the Jews from Jerusalem were in Bethany to comfort Martha and Mary for their loss. As soon as Martha heard that Jesus had come, she charged him that if he had come when they had called, their brother would not have died. But Mary stayed away quietly. Jesus assured Martha that her brother would live again, and she agreed that he would be raised at the end of time in the resurrection. So Jesus told her that he is the resurrection and the life, and anyone who believed in him, even if they were dead, would live again. He asked Martha if she believed. She said, "Yea, Lord, I believe that thou art the Christ, the Son of God, which should come into the world." Martha returned home and called Mary and told her that Jesus called for her. Mary quickly left the house, followed by all the mourners and comforters there, and went to Jesus, falling at his feet in tears, saying to Jesus that if he was there, their brother would not have died. Jesus then asked to be taken to Lazarus' grave. The unbelief in the thoughts of the Jews there caused him pain. Jesus wept. When they arrived at the tomb, a cave with a stone covering the entrance, Jesus asked that the stone be rolled away. Martha protested that by this time Lazarus was stink because he had been dead 4 days. Jesus reminded her that if she would believe, she would see God's glory. So the stone was rolled from in front of Lazarus' tomb. Then Jesus prayed so that all the people there would hear. "Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me, and I knew that thou hearest me always. But because of the people which stand by I said it, that they may believe that thou hast sent me." After he prayed, Jesus said in a loud voice, "Lazarus, come forth." Lazarus came out, bound in his burial wrappings from head to toe. Jesus commanded that he be loosed. After witnessing this miracle, many of the Jews believed in Jesus as the Son of God. This made the Pharisees very angry, and they made plots to kill Jesus. They even made plots to kill Lazarus, the living witness of Jesus' power. Malchus's ear. The time that Jesus had constantly been warning his disciples would come was finally here. The priests and Pharisees had made their plans, and with the assistance of Jesus' disciple, Judas Iscariot, they were now ready to put Jesus to death. While partaking of the feast of unleavened bread, Jesus told the disciples that one of them would betray him. They all inquired if they were the one. Then Jesus told them that they would all abandon him when he was arrested. Peter quickly chimed in that even if it meant death, he would never deny Jesus. All the other apostles concurred. Later that night, they went to the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus prayed for strength for the upcoming troubles. He had asked Peter, James, and John and the other apostles to pray with him also, that they would not fall into temptation. But they fell asleep instead. When Judas and the chief priests and elders and their army came, none of the apostles were ready. Judas identified Jesus, and the soldiers took hold of him. Seeing what was unfolding, the disciples asked if they were to fight. Without missing a beat, Peter drew his sword and cut off the right ear of Malchus, the high priest's servant. Jesus touched Malchus's ear and healed him. Then Jesus said to Peter, "Put up thy sword into the sheath. The cup which my Father hath given me, shall I not drink it?" Then Jesus was led away for his trial. Now it's time for our activity. First question: did Jesus only heal Jews? Give an example if necessary. Correct. No, he did not. The Syrophoenician woman's daughter was not a Jew. Next question. Name Jesus' friend who he raised from the dead and his sisters. That's right. His name was Lazarus, and his sisters were Martha and Mary, and they all lived in Bethany. Last question. Who was the last person Jesus healed in his earthly ministry? Correct, Malchus. Peter had cut off his ear and Jesus replaced it. Now, write or say the memory verse and theme verse from memory.
Yes, Jesus loves
Next
me.
time, we'll read about Jesus'
Yes,
parables.
Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me, for the Bible tells me so.